everybody, how are you today? I have so many new subscribers, so I just wanted to come on and say hello. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Just want to tell you a little bit about me. Most of you are over here because of my singing, which I appreciate. I have been singing since I was 5 years old. I love to sing. My dad was a singer, not professionally, but he loved music. He loved Eddie Fisher, who was a crooner back in the day. And that's where I got my music background with my family. My mom played the piano, and we went to a lot of shows. We went to Broadway shows. We would take trips to Puerto Rico and Vegas, and see different people like Wayne Newton and Engelbert Humperdinck. And I don't know. I don't think we ever saw Tom Jones, but we saw a lot of different entertainers like Neil Sedaka. He was really good. I enjoyed him. Paul Anka, and I actually took some professional singing lessons in high school to further my singing because, it's just something I enjoy doing. And so when I married Dave, my husband, he supported me very, very much. And we did karaoke bars and everything. And then eventually, my husband and I moved around a lot. He just couldn't find his niche. And so we met in New York. I grew up in New York, Westchester County, Armonk, Pleasantville, White Plains area. And then when I met him, we moved to Florida because we wanted to get away from the snow. I hated Florida, basically because of the humidity, and it rained every day. It was awful. And we were living in a trailer that had dirt. It had dirt. It didn't really have grass. And it was just, I hated it. So after that, we moved to Tucson, Arizona, believe it or not. And Dave was always the cowboy. He loved John Wayne. And so back in Tucson, we did the same thing. We would go out to karaoke bars. Dave even tried to put a band together for me, but that didn't really work out. And then from Tucson, we had to move over to Dallas, Texas, because his brother was ill and he wanted to be with him. So in Dallas is when I actually started my professional career in singing. I had, all of my singing lessons and karaoke bars and all of that. And I actually got hired to be a singer in a very innovative place, store, retail. They sold a lot of future gadgets and just different gadgets and things like that. They had a big stage in the middle, and they hired me to be a singer. So I think I was there for a couple of months, and I totally enjoyed it. And a lot of people came and saw me singing and really enjoyed it. And so we were watching the Charlie Daniels Talent Roundup, which is a show in Nashville that was on at the time on the Nashville Network. And I don't think anybody on that show even made it anywhere. I don't think the ratings were very good, but I sent my tape into them, a cassette tape of me singing a Crystal Gale song. Crystal Gale has my biggest influence on my singing. You might could tell that by the way I sang, her style, that kind of singing. And so they had sent me a letter saying that they loved my tape and they loved for me to come to audition. So I went to audition in Nashville. We drove from Dallas to Nashville. And they loved me. They said they were going to put me on the show as soon as they get the schedule for the new season. And I waited for a while. And after about 2 months, I called them and I said, "Hi, I auditioned and you told me I'd be on the show. What's the schedule?" And they said, "Well, unfortunately, the show has been canceled. We will not be doing another season." And that was such a disappointment. But it gave us a bug for Tennessee because Tennessee was such a difference between Dallas and Tennessee. Tennessee was clean, people were nice, and we fell in love with the area. So Dave had injured himself in Arizona, and he eventually got declared as officially disabled. So when that happened, he got some back pay for the past couple of years. So we used that money to move to Nashville. And once we got there, I did some shows in bars. A lot of people start out that way. They go to the bars and pay their dues. And it never really took off for me. And because also I had to have a full time job because Dave was disabled and he couldn't work, and we had to pay our bills. But I had a couple of paying jobs in Nashville, and it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. And I've always been a medical secretary full time during the day, and singing was, a side job. But so I've had the professional training and all of the experience. Been singing since I was 5. I'm 66 years old now. So that is what you are hearing, years of experience and training. So, yeah, music is my life. It always has been. And my favorite artists are Keith Urban. I have seen Keith Urban on every single tour of his since 2005. Every time he goes out on tour and he comes to my town, I go see him. I love him. His music has gotten me through some really, really hard times. We won't go into why, but he literally saved me from years of depression and despair. And will eternally be grateful to him. He is a wonderful man, a great father, a fantastic entertainer. Um, Talk about guitar playing. I mean, this man is amazing, amazing. And then, of course, I've always been into country music. Okay, country music has always been my niche. But once I started doing the karaoke streams, Shimmer Soul and I started out about 3 years ago, and we would do shows where we would each sing songs. And then it got to the point where I was kind of running out of songs to sing, because you can only do so much country. And I had never listened to anything except country and pop back in the 70s when I was growing up. So, I wasn't aware of all these other genres like rock, like Fleetwood Mac, and, just never listened to anything like that. Now, I did like the Beatles growing up. They've always been my favorite band. They will always be that. I love them. And I did listen to pop radio a lot. And I liked the Bee Gees a lot as well. So I just started expanding. I said, okay, I've got to go into other things besides country. So that's when I learned all the Fleetwood Mac songs, um, just different groups, that I was not aware of. So that's when I started expanding from country to do everything else. And as you can see, from my videos and when I go on karaoke channels, I just do a little bit of everything, I do country, I do pop, I do, um, you know, power ballads. I'm a power ballad person. I love to do ballads. I just put my soul and everything into my ballads, and it just makes me feel good to sing those kind of songs. So that's kind of my musical background and why I am the singer I am today through the professional training as a teenager and just years and years of performing have brought me to this point where I can share my talent with people. That's my talent. I don't have much. I was a creative writer well, duh. We did a country music magazine when we lived in Nashville. We were the very first internet country music magazine in Nashville, and we covered a lot of shows. We met a lot of artists. I used to have a wall of pictures of me and all the artists that we met. They all got left behind when I had to leave Sevierville when my husband died in 2013. And, I had to leave behind a lot of memories when he died because I didn't have the money anymore for rent. So I had to go back to Nashville, and a friend had told me that she found a place I could stay. But it was a fun time. We did it for about a year, I want to say. No, maybe 2 years. It was called the Country Views, and our motto was that we were kind reviewers. At the time, there were so many reviewers out there, like the country music magazines, critics, and everything. All they ever did was tear down country artists and tear down their songs and say how awful they were. And it was just so negative. So we decided to start this magazine. And it was, a kinder view. We didn't do uh, nasty reviews of people. It was always positive. And we did well for 2 years until Gaylord came along and decided that they were going to start their own uh, webzines or whatever. And they kind of took it over and we were just kind of pushed out. But we had a really, really good time doing that. I met so many people. I met a lot of my favorite people: Martina McBride, Garth Brooks, Trisha Yearwood, Reba. I met her very, very briefly. Leanne Rhymes. So many people that were popular back then. Pam Tillis, Brian White, all of those people back in the 90s, we would do a lot of interviews with, and or be part of a group, a media group that would be, interviewing him, and I would record it all. It was just a lot of fun, and it was really, really great. So I actually do have a printout of one of our webzines from back then, and yeah, it was just fun. So that was part of our life too in Nashville. So yeah, so that's my musical background. A lot of my music is just sidestepped, okay, because I had to work full time because my husband was disabled. So I've been a secretary transcriptionist my entire life, in the medical field. So I know a lot about the medical field. I worked in a children's clinic. I worked in various hospitals, doctors, all kinds of things. So I worked in the medical field for about, I want to say, maybe 15 years or so, pretty much. And then the last couple of years that I was in Tennessee, I was in call centers. So I have a lot of customer service experience and secretarial and all that. And then when I came up to Vermont to be with family who I hadn't seen in 40 years, I couldn't find a decent job. So I wound up working at McDonald's for a year and Dunkin', Dunkin' Donuts. And it was such a nice change from the pressure of call centers that I really, really actually enjoyed those jobs. It was really great. So since I came up here, I've had those two jobs. I've been through three cars in Vermont, and I just came to the conclusion that I cannot afford to have a car because everything goes wrong with cars with me for some dumb reason. And I just never could afford to maintain cars, so they would always fall apart. And at the last car, I was like, okay, this is it. I can't do it anymore. So I just rely on, we have a transportation company here in town. And when I have to go out, I'll call them. They'll take me to the doctor. And so I'm pretty much in a good place right now. I'm really enjoying my life a lot. Um, I'm in this beautiful new apartment. Anybody who's been watching me knows that I moved here in November, and I really, really love it. I'm around people again. I lived alone in a big apartment for 4 years, um, in the middle of nowhere, about 10 miles from town. And it was rough. We've got rough winters here. And in our house, our landlord did not live on site. And so he had nothing to do with plowing or shoveling or anything. And so, I'd have to be trudging through the snow to go across the street to the mailbox and across the street to the dumpster. And it was hard living over there. I loved the apartment, but the conditions were really bad. So I had gotten on a waiting list for low income housing because I'm only living on Social Security. My last job, I had to quit because of my car. So now I'm in this beautiful place. Nice, nice building. I'm telling you, low income housing does not mean that it's a bad place to live. This is a very nice apartment building. It was built back in the 70s. The only The only complaint I have is that these windows are not insulated. So I am sitting here talking to you, and even with the curtains, that cold air is coming right through and I can feel it. So that's the only complaint I really have about this place. The people are great. I love them all so much. And I haven't had any complaints about me singing at night. So that's a good thing because most of my people that I go on their channels, they're on late at night. So I haven't been on as much as I used to be. In the old apartment, I was so depressed and so lonely that I sang every single night on Deb's Woodburning channel. And now I don't do it as much because I have a little bit more of activity over here. And I have to be up at a certain time every day to receive my meals from the Meals on Wheels program. So, I'm up pretty early now, and I stay pretty active during the day. I either clean the house or I go outside and I talk with the girls, and I just have more of an active life here. So I'm not as frequent on certain late night karaoke live streams. So I've pretty much been sticking to the ones that are like at 8 o'clock at night rather than 10:30 or 11:30. Once in a while, I may catch, someone if I'm awake and I'm feeling okay. I went on to Creek Squad. He has a karaoke night every Wednesday night. He comes on pretty late. He comes on 11:30 my time. But I actually went on his channel on Wednesday this past week. So that's a little bit about me, and I hope you all enjoy my channel. I appreciate you very much. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.